Okay, the second question. We are taking 15a to the third and we are distributing two terms, two rainbows. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. So we're going 15a to the third, we're multiplying by 2a. So I'm going to start by multiplying just the numbers. 15 times 2? 30. Then we look at our variables. We have a to the third and we have a. So we have 3 a's and another a. That becomes a to the fourth power. Second term, 15a to the third, and we're multiplying it by 1. It's exactly the same. Plus 15a to the third. Oh yeah, I wrote an S.
Close enough.
Habit. There you go. Number 3. We have two terms multiplied by two terms. So we are going to do the distributive property twice. We're going to do the distributive property twice. I'm first going to do the distributive property with 2x. So I take 2x times 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x to the second. And we do it again, 2x, and we multiply by minus 3. 2x times minus 3. 2 times minus 3 is minus 6, and there is an x with it. Now we're going to take 3 and distribute 3 to both terms in the other parentheses. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So you guys know the FOIL method. You've heard it. We've done it in this class. FOIL is what I just did. I just didn't use the words first, outer, inner, last. I just distributed the first term and distributed the second term. It's the exact same thing. Now from here, we're going to collect any like terms. So remember, like terms have the same.
At this time, would juniors please come down for their picture makeup retakes? Even if you're not planning on purchasing, we still need you to come down and take a picture for your school ID. At this time, juniors, come down to the auxiliary gym.
Did I just fix that? What was recording? Okay. All right. So what was I saying? Oh, we're going to combine like terms. Like terms have the same variable to the same exponent. So can I combine 4x squared and minus 6? No, I cannot. Can I combine minus 6x and plus 6x? Yes, I can. Can I combine 9 with any of it? No, I cannot. So when I combine my like terms, I get 4x squared minus 9. Number 4, same thing, 2 terms and 2 terms. So we're going to distribute y. Distribute y times y. That is how many y's? Y times y is y squared. And then we have y times 6 plus 6y. Then we distribute minus 6 times y. Minus 6y. Minus 6 times 6. Negative 36. We combine their like terms. Nothing is like with y squared. The 6y and the minus 6y cancel, and we get negative 36. Number 5, we're going to distribute what? X times x.
X squared.
X times minus 8. Negative 8x. Change colors. I'm going to distribute y times x.
XY.
Okay, I always write x and y rather than y and x because just put them in alphabetical order. And then y times minus 8. Minus 8y. We multiply them, you just stick them together. At this point, we look for like terms. There aren't any, so I'm done. We try usually to put them in order of descending powers, so where this is like an x squared, and then like an x, but then we've got some y's in this one, so it's confusing. I wouldn't bother moving this one around. I would just leave it. Okay. Last one?
Easy.
I hope so. We've got a times a to the second. That's an a, and two more a's gives me
Trace.
a to the third. Then we've got a multiplied by minus 5, so minus 5a. And we have negative 2 times a squared, minus 2a squared. Negative 2 times negative 5, plus 10. Now, are there any like terms? No. Order-wise, I'm fine with you guys just leaving it. Eventually, we would probably write it in order of descending powers, which I can do for this one because they're all A's, but I really couldn't do that for the other one. Okay, today what we were doing, why we needed to do the warm-up is because today I'm going to give you something like a to the third minus 2a squared minus 5a plus 10, and you have to tell me what we originally multiplied together. We're going backwards.
Well, why would we want to do that then?
Why would we want to do that? Because that's how we are going to solve quadratic equations starting on Wednesday.
Lamos.
Yeah. It's very, very important, and this topic is it's going to continue out throughout Algebra 2, throughout pre-calc or trig and applied next year. Like, you're going to see this topic over and over and over and over again. And it's called, we're not doing that, and it's called, nope, and it's called factoring. If you look at the top of your page, factoring. You have done this in Algebra 1. Some of you may or may not have reviewed it in geometry. I know my class did not review it last year. Ms. B's class did, yep. But we are going to review it right now, big time. So what we have here, we're going to come back to later. This is how you factor anything. You always begin with GCF. What's GCF stand for?
Greatest common factor.
The greatest common factor. Factor means something that you can multiply by something else to give you that number. Factoring is what do you multiply, like what's a factor of 12? 6 is a factor of 12. 2 is a factor of 12. 4 is a factor of 12. 3 is a factor of 12. 12 is a factor of 12. Those are factors. So we are finding what you multiply together to give you a polynomial. And then after you do the GCF stage, which I'm going to teach you how to do that, after we do that, then you have to go and if it's 2 terms, you will do stuff over here. If it's 3 terms, you'll do stuff over here. Who? Who? I need a name. Jordan? Okay. Okay, there's just one vocabulary word here, binomial, that you may not have remembered what that is called. Binomial, what that is. That is 2 terms. That could look like something like, I don't know, A plus B. That's 2 terms. Something plus something, or A minus B could be 2 terms. But like I said, we'll come back to this page once we need to use it. Right now, we're just going to factor out the greatest common factor. So you're going to look at number 1, or A. 14A minus 7. And you're going to look at the separate terms. You're going to look at 14A, and you're going to look at the minus 7. What is the biggest thing that divides evenly out of 14A and minus 7? 7. So what you do is we undistribute it. We unrainbow it.
Oh.
You put 7 parentheses. To find out what's left, you divide 14A by 7, which is 2, and there's still an A in it. Then we divide minus 7 by 7. Minus 1. And that's it. B. First thing you have to do is you have to figure out what is the greatest common factor. So I'm going to give you a moment to goof around on your calculators and figure out what is the greatest common factor of both terms. So first of all, does your answer for A look like my answer for A? Let me pause it.
Actually, it's not. Uh-oh.
It's okay. Okay, so the largest number is 36. And you guys look at how many variables we have. We have 5 in one of them, and we have 3 in the other. What is the most they have in common?
3.
They have 3 in common. Do they at least have 3? Some have more, but they at least have 3. So we do x to the third, x to the third. So we have 36, x to the third. What's 108 divided by 36? 3. And then if we have x to the fifth and we take out 3 of them, we have x squared left. Then 72 divided by 36 is 2. We have 3 x's and we take out 3 x's. Oh, we have 2 left over. Now you look in your parentheses. Is there anything in common still?
No.
Then we're done. We go to the next question. What is the greatest common factor? Don't yell it out.
Those have a photo.
Okay. Like the stuff you left on the floor?
Okay.
Oh. Okay, 2a cubed plus 12a squared b minus 14a. What is the greatest common factor?
2A.
Oh, okay.
2 and a. 2 and a. 2 and a. Both of them. 2a. So if we take out 2a, we're dividing. In the first spot, I have 2a to the third, and I take out 2 and the a. How many a's do I have left?
A squared.
Here I have 12, and I'm dividing by 2.
6AB.
And I'm dividing by a, so that means I'm getting rid of one of the a's. AB, yeah. And then we have minus 14 divided by 2.
-7.
Minus 7. And then the a's,
Cancel each other away.
and then we're done.
Oh, we're good.
Okay, now we are in the next category. The next category, you will see at the very edge of your paper says number of terms, and this says for 4 terms. This is what we use for 4 terms. It is called factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. So, if I ask a question like, what kind of factoring is this? And you give me an abbreviation that is made up.
So no F.
But I'm not going to ask you that. And honestly, what we are doing right now is not a question I'm going to ask you on the test. This is what you have to know how to do to be able to answer questions that will be on the test. We don't even know what's going to be on the test yet, because you have to be able to do this first. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use this to find solutions, but we're not there yet.
Please excuse the interruption, but at this time, seniors who have not yet had their pictures taken, please make your way down to the auxiliary gym to have your photo retake done.
Somehow I managed to get on my cabinets also.
Oh my God, that's splattered through.
I'm never going to touch that cabinet again. Same. All right, here we go. Factor by grouping starts with making groups. So watch me do it. I'm going to group together the first 2 parentheses. I'm sorry, the first 2 terms in parentheses. First 2 terms. And then the last 2 terms. And I need to leave the plus sign in between.
So we're not multiplying 2 parentheses. together.
We are not. That's what the plus sign is in between it, saying these are added. Now, from that, we are going to do what we just did. We're going to do the greatest common factor, but we're going to do it for each separate group. So out of the first group, what's my GCF?
3.
3x. So I'm going to pull that 3x out in front. And what is left over is y minus 5 when I pull out the 3x, when I undistribute the 3x. We have a plus sign. What is my GCF out of the second parenthesis?
2.
So I'm going to undistribute that 2, and what is left over?
Y equals negative 5. Y negative 5.
Y minus 5.
Not equal negative 5.
The parentheses must be exactly the same. They must be exactly the same. So do you see in parentheses I have y minus 5 and I have y minus 5. They're exactly the same. Exactly the same.
So we should
No. We do not want to FOIL. We're undoing FOIL. We are finding what the factors are. We're finding out what you would multiply together to give us this answer. So we're completely right now undoing FOIL. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take the parentheses and we are going to divide out the entire y minus 5 from both. We're going to divide out y minus 5. We're going to undistribute y minus 5. So that y minus 5 goes in front because we're undistributing that. So when I undistribute that, right here, the y minus 5's cancel. We're dividing them out. We're putting it in front. What is left over when I divide out the y minus 5 from both of these terms? 3x plus 2. So you're taking out the y minus 5, you're putting 3x plus 2, and that's it. That's all there is. So we need to see it again.
Yes.
I have another example. We're going to see it again. So the example B, what are we going to do first? Okay, but I tried to group them, but I know there has to be a plus sign in the middle, and you guys, there's nothing we can do about that. I know there has to be a plus sign in between. So, and I can't have a minus sign in between. So instead of plus, I change it into, or instead of minus, I change it into plus negative 12. And then when I draw my parentheses, the negative is in the inside. But the plus is in between.
Would you have to flip over the 3
No.
negative?
Because minus 12a is the same as plus negative 12a. These are equivalent. So I'm just changing the 12, not everything. Okay, so from here, we're now going to take out the greatest common factor. What is greatest common factor of 8a to the third and 2a squared?
2 is second.
2a.
2a squared. Mm-hmm. So we'll put that in front. And we have left over 4a minus. What happens when I take something and divide it by itself?
1.
We have 1. There has to be something there. So, because we're dividing it by itself, it's 1. Now we're thinking ahead. After I take something out of the second parentheses, it has to match 4a minus 1. Right now it's negative 12a plus 30. If I take something out over here, it has to match 4a minus 1 when I'm done. What can I take out?
3.
If I take out 3, that's not going to change negative 12 into a positive 4. So I'm going to take out a negative 3. So I'm going to have plus negative 3 out front. No, because my plus sign came down. Now when I divide negative 12a by negative 3, that gives me positive 4a. And I divide positive 3 by negative 3, I get minus 1. And now the parentheses match. It will be. Yes. Yes. Well, then minus minus. Okay, so now we divide out the parentheses. 4a minus 1 and 4a minus 1. We divide that out, and that goes in front. Then what I did not divide, 2a squared minus 3 is what's left over. That goes in the other parentheses. Yes, Jim?
You probably explained it already.
That's okay.
But I wasn't listening.
Okay.
How do you get negative 3 and negative 1 to negative? How do you get negative 3 to be negative 1?
From right here, I'm dividing out a negative 3 because that's what these both have in common. So I'm taking 3 divided by negative 3. So when I did 3 divided by 3, it's 1. But since one of them is negative, it's negative 1.
There's 12.
Why is 12 negative? Because in the original question, it was minus 12. So we changed it into plus negative 12.
You're supposed to put the parentheses to separate.
You separate them by a plus sign. You have to have a plus sign in between. Because if they're not separated by a plus sign, it's multiplied, but they're not being multiplied together. They're being added. Okay?
It's a whole
All right.
different basket of monkeys.
Can we please, before we go on to the next question, I want you actually to go to the homework page and look at number 3. It's the staple paper on. It's number 3. I just want you to look at that. I want to make sure you can get started on that one. This is from the homework. So we look and we see that we have 4 terms. What would we do first? Okay, we're going to group them. Make sure you have a plus sign in between. And then take out our greatest common factor. What is greatest common factor with these 2 terms? 3 and a squared. So I'm going to divide that out. And I get left over 4a minus 3. Now we go and we look at our other parenthesis. And I have to take something out. And when I'm done, the parenthesis has to be the same as 4a minus 3.
1.
So I'm going to take out just 1. Positive 1.
Would you even have to write a 1 for it?
Well, it has to be there yet.
Okay.
You would need to write it to do our next step. Well, I guess maybe not, but those
If
that
you would-
don't,
Yeah.
those that don't end up making mistakes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Alright, so you said like underline parking path the first one. Could we
Okay.
just leave it under? Don't we just leave it like our final answer?
Nope. Because our final answer, something to be factored, is everything that you multiply together to give you that original question, and right now that's being added. So we have to get it so it's just parentheses times each other. So we do need to keep going. So we're going to factor out that 4a minus 3 from both terms, factor that out, and put it in front. And then what's left over, we put there. So that is one of the questions from your homework. I wanted to go over it because that one had that 1 in it, and I already had lots of questions with the 1. All right? Back to the notes when you got that one down. Okay, difference of squares. This is your favorite. I promise, your favorite.
At this time, it's last call for picture retakes. Last call for picture retakes. Please come take your picture in the auxiliary gym.
Okay, difference. You know what difference means? What's difference mean?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. This has to be subtraction. This has to be subtraction. If it's not subtraction, you can't do it. This has to be subtraction. Can you do it? If it's not subtraction.
No.
No, it has to be subtraction. Has to be subtraction.
Subtract.
Has to be subtraction. Has to be subtraction.
Cool. One more time.
It also has to be perfect squares, meaning every single piece of it has to be perfect squares. All parts. All parts have to be perfect squares. All parts. Everything. So we look at A, 16x squared minus 9. Is it subtraction?
Yeah. Minus 9. Yeah.
Minus 9, is it subtraction?
Yes. 9.
Next question, is 16 a perfect square?
Yes.
Is x squared a perfect square?
Yes.
Is 9 a perfect square?
Yes.
Then we can continue. You do 2 parentheses, 2 sets of parentheses. You make 1 plus, 1 minus. You square root both terms. You keep them in the same order. So 16x squared, the square root of that is 4x. You put it first in both parentheses. Then you square root the 9 and you put that second in both parentheses. Then you are done. Question B, is it subtraction?
Yeah.
Is everything a perfect square? Can we square
Yes.
root everything?
Yes.
Then square root of 81 is 9. We make one of them plus, one of them minus. Square root of 25x squared is 5x. You cannot do it backwards. It must be in order. No, it's not cool. You will get it wrong if you switch the order. If you are unsure if you're doing it right, you can just do the FOIL method to check your answer. That's all we're doing is unfoiling these. Question C. Is it subtraction?
Yes.
Is it perfect square?
Is 1 a perfect square?
Is 1 a perfect square?
1.
1 times 1 is?
1.
Is 1 a perfect square?
Yes.
So we've got 2a plus 1, 2a minus 1. Question D. Is it subtraction?
No. No.
Then you can't do it. Don't make up your own rules. If it is not subtraction, then we can't do it. And this is a prime number. It does not have other factors. Okay? Now what your assignment is going to be like is the next section. This is what your assignment is going to be like. It says factor each expression completely. That means we're going to combine different factoring things in one question. We're going to combine different ones. So this is where the flow chart is handy. I'm going to go grab that flow chart and bring it to where we're working. Okay. So this flow chart says we always look for greatest common first. Greatest common factor first. Is there a greatest common factor? Then we take that out. Then we look and see how many terms are left in the parentheses.
2.
two terms. So on our factor flow chart, if it is two terms, we look to see if it's a difference of squares. Is it subtraction? Is it perfect square?
Yep.
If it is, then we will do two parentheses and square root of. Make 1 plus and 1 minus. Now, at that factor flow chart, after you do difference of squares, there is another arrow. And it says, check all binomials for difference of squares. Because sometimes you could do it again. Sometimes it keeps going. So we look at our two binomials and we look at x plus y. Is that subtraction?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one doesn't keep going. X minus y. Is that subtraction?
Yes.
All right, are we subtracting perfect squares?
No, that's squared.
They're not squared, so are these perfect squares?
No.
So then this is done. But sometimes it keeps going, and I'll show you an example that does. How about question B? What do we do first? Greatest common factor. Divide by 4. Now, we have two terms, and in your factor flow chart for two terms, it says, check for difference of squares. Is this a difference of squares?
Yes.
We do two parentheses, 1 plus, 1 minus, and square root. X plus 5, x minus 5. But then we have to check those for perfect squares, difference of squares again. Is this
No,
difference of squares?
no.
Why not?
Addition plus.
Okay. Is that difference of
No,
squares?
that's our
It's subtracting, but it's not squared.
Not squares. So then we are done. Look at number 2
Dos.
from that extra practice section. No. First thing that we always look for is what?
Or just, yeah.
Always look for greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor?
No.
Then we move on, and this is how many terms? 2 terms. So, is it difference of squares?
Yeah.
Is difference, it is subtraction. So the question is, fourth power, is that perfect square? All even powers are perfect squares. All even powers are perfect squares. So x to the 4th is a perfect square. So we're going to square root that. And if you're not sure, we're thinking to ourselves, what multiplied by itself gives me x to the 4th? X squared times x squared. We make 1 plus, 1 minus. What multiplied by itself is y to the 4th? Y squared, y squared. Now, we check them. X squared plus y squared. Is that subtraction?
No.
So that one's done. Second parenthesis. X squared minus y squared. Is that subtraction?
Yes.
Are we subtracting perfect squares?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that means the first parenthesis is done, but the second parenthesis divides into 2. And we square root of x plus y, x minus y. Well, we recheck it now. X plus y, is that one done?
Yes.
Addition, it's done. X minus y, is that one done?
Subtraction, so it would be different, but it's
Not perfect squares. Right. Okay, I'm done talking. Yeah, no. You have to turn to your assignment, and there is one full page of factoring, and then if you look at the back,
Oh, God.
that's doing the FOIL method.
Oh, God.
But that does not take long. So, there is a mistake on the back though. There is a small mistake on the back. When I copied and pasted stuff together, I copied and pasted the same thing over and over again, forgot to change it. So, number 6 is fine. Number 6 is fine. Number 8, 9, and 12, we gotta fix the the numbers. So fix them now with me. This is on the back page. This is on the back page. The back page. Number 8 should say x plus 2 squared. I just copied the same question over and over again. I printed it and then I realized it, and I don't want to go reprint more paper. So we just fix them. So then number 9 should say x minus 3 squared. And number 12 should say x minus 10 squared. Your job right now is to get started on either the factoring side or the multiplying side. Everything has to be done by tomorrow.
Everything.
So you're going to get started right now. On your marks, I go. I'm going to pause talking.